Hey guys, welcome back. So now we're getting back into Maestro War and Packs. And I know prior to this point, plenty of people have been saying like this Maestro is weaker than the one that we remember. Like much weaker. But in response, I've been trying to tell you, the upgrade is coming. And here it is. So let's get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squad up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so jumping back into Maestro War and Packs. Like when we had last left off, the Pantheon had led Maestro to believe that he had successfully escaped by destroying all of these guys, and with doing so revealing himself to be the monster that Maestro truly is, which is exactly what they wanted him to lean into in order to show him the illusion of his mother seeing it all so that he could turn back into Banner to put him in a weakened state so that they could kill him and find a way from there to put him down for good. But while they're prepping for the next stage, we also got to keep in mind that they're working with Dr. Doom on this. And at this time, Doom has made his way over to Dystopia to deliver what he believes to be the remedy now that Maestro's out of the picture, which at this point, of course, is him taking over Dystopia as their new leader. And at this point, like for the people of Dystopia, like this is something that they see every day. And like not literally every day, but it happens a lot. And when Doom arrives here, attempting to make this announcement, demanding the respect of these people, like at this point they're completely over it, because before it was Hercules, at one point it was Maestro, now this guy, and when Doom arrives demanding their obeisance, they're just like, look, nah bruh, like we not about to do this again. And initially Doom's like, well maybe I should slaughter a few, get some attention, and then after that perhaps the others will fall in line, but then he's like, nope, I'm gonna do something different this time, because that approach would just be way too predictable. And with knowing this, he just heads straight for the throne. And it's funny because when he knocks on the door, like the minister answers and he's more or less like, can I help you? And when Doom responds like, I'm your new ruler, the minister responds back to him like he's a door-to-door salesman. He's like, nope, we already got one. And very much like, we're good here, like keep it moving. But when Doom more or less just lets himself in, because honestly, like the minister's not gonna stop him. But when Doom lets himself in, he lets the minister know like you had a leader, he's out the way now. And he informs the minister that the Pantheon have taken Maestro captive. And like with hearing this, initially the minister has his skepticism of Maestro even being captured in the first place. But eventually within the conversation, he entertains the idea and he tells Doom like even with that being the case, no one can hold this guy. Eventually he will return and he will come back for his throne. And Doom doesn't brush it over, he lets him know like he may be right. But until then, he's setting up shop. Because until that happens, Doom very much has every intention on continuing to pursue his interests within this timeline. But then at this time we then go back to the Pantheon, who have decided to submerge and seal Bruce's body in duranium, which is usually a liquid that is mixed with alloys to create armor or fortify armor, but it's not as durable as adamantium per se. But for the Pantheon, like with the time given, this was the toughest substance that they had, so they just figured, hey, we'll lock him in here and that way he'll be stuck, he can't grow, he can't get out. And with doing this, like this idea didn't sit too well with Ulysses, because Ulysses just told Lanta like, hey, he's gonna break out of that and he's gonna kill us all. And Lanta, like she's aware that that's a possibility, but with them not knowing how Bruce's immortality works, they had to make a decision because the clock was ticking. But even with this being the call, like Ulysses, he did suggest that they cut him into pieces and just separate like his head from his arms, his legs, and the rest of his body, which by the way, if they did, like we already know how that will play out, because like we had seen in Immortal Hulk issue 8, this immortality of the Hulk, which the Pantheon has mentioned that they still haven't fully figured out, but like we've seen what it can do prior to this point, because when Shadowbase tried to test these limits, at that time the Devil Hulk allowed it, and even with his different limbs and organs collected in different jars, with the snap of a finger he was able to break the glass and reassemble himself when he was ready. And because of that, we know what would happen if the Pantheon had taken that route. But the Pantheon, they have no knowledge of this happening, and of course, because that was Shadowbase. But with Ulysses making the suggestion to cut the Hulk into pieces, Lanta shoots the idea down. And not because she knows what'll happen, but she assumes that if they cut Maestro into different pieces, those pieces could each become a different Maestro, and after that you then have an army of Maestros that you gotta deal with. And Ulysses tells her like that wouldn't happen. But when Lanta asks Ulysses like, would you bet your life on it? He just lets it go in fear of that being a possibility. But then it's after this where we then go into Bruce's mind, to where he's being counseled by Doc Samson, who tells Bruce what the Pantheon is doing, with submerging him in uranium to the point of when it solidifies, he likely won't be able to get out. And when Bruce hears this and he asks like what can he do about it, like can he stop them? And from there Doc Samson flips it to the question of do you want to stop them, making it seem as if this is a gift or an opportunity to relieve Bruce from his suffering. And with presenting it this way, Doc Samson then asks him like how much do you really want to live? And Bruce pauses and he thinks about it, but then Maestro steps in. And when Maestro shows up to this session, more or less, like he's pissed. And the first thing he does is go off on Bruce, telling him like as soon as you saw your mother, suddenly a lifetime of inadequacy just rears its head. And it's very much like Maestro feels like he handed Bruce the moment and Bruce just completely fumbled it because he's weak. And Maestro tells Bruce like you need to listen to what I've been telling you, which is you're better than Samson, you're better than your parents, and you're better than anyone who's quote unquote been trying to help you, because their help has only made you weaker. Like look where we are now. And for that reason, don't listen to this Samson figure, because it doesn't even matter if it's really him or not, because the truth is we're in a situation where the Pantheon is trying to end you. And because of that, it doesn't matter what these other people are trying to say, whether it's Samson, the Pantheon, or whoever, because they don't care. And Maestro lets him know that he is the one person who does care. And with telling this to Bruce, he just snaps Doc Samson's neck with one hand and just discards him to the side. But then not too far away with the Pantheon, Lanta and Ulysses, they go back to the others to let them know that it's done, and they are nervous, like asking all kind of questions. But Lanta assures them that she's confident that he's secure, and they've given him an air hole so he can breathe, but she's confident that this is taken care of and it's done. But then going back into Bruce's mind, like it's just him and Maestro within this conversation now. And Maestro tells Bruce here, like everyone that he's met, whether it was Betty, the Avengers, Rick Jones, like they all have been afraid of Bruce because of what he could potentially do. And it's here where Maestro tells Bruce to release him, to put his trust in him, and put all the responsibility in Maestro's hands. And with doing this, he'll show them who's in charge and who's the strongest one there is. And this is a scary concept, because even though Maestro's strength has been known to be stagnant in the past, or like we know he's not the type of Hulk to where the madder he gets, the stronger he gets. But even with that being the case, what we do know is like any other Hulk, his ability or his power set are subject to change depending on his relationship with Bruce. But as soon as he says this, Maestro then breaks out of the Duranium, which for one immediately gives us Bruce's answer. But then on top of that, when Maestro breaks out, like he is much bigger than the Maestro that we'd seen leading up to this point. And when this happens, everyone at the Mount, like they immediately notice, and they're pretty sure what's about to happen from here, like it's not gonna be good. But then when Maestro busts out of the Duranium, the alarms start going off and the Pantheon, they come rushing back in. And when they rush back, like Ulysses, he just had to give Lanta the I told you so. But when they come rushing back to this new Maestro, he's just tearing through the place looking for the missile room, and when the Pantheon run into him, he immediately snatches up Lanta. And when this happened, like I expected like the next few panels just to be him running through kill count after kill count, like making his dreams come true from the last issue, if you will. But instead, when he sees the Pantheon, he just wants them to keep their word. And of course, with him snatching Lanta, Ajax comes in, but he's quickly just swatted to the side like it's nothing. But when this happens, immediately Ulysses is like, look, okay, I'll do what I said I was going to do, because their prior agreement with Maestro was to hit AIM with their bunker buster missiles. And at this time when Ulysses agrees to do it and everyone's trying to tell him don't, including Lanta, he's like he doesn't have a choice, he has to hold up his side of the agreement. And when Maestro asks Lanta like, is she afraid to die? She tells Maestro no, because she believes that herself and the Pantheon deserve to die, because ultimately they failed at their mission with protecting the world, with allowing it to get as bad as it has. And with hearing that, Maestro just like, okay, cool, your call. And he just kills Lanta in cold blood, like with no thought to it. And when he does this, like a surprisingly calm Ulysses, he tells Maestro like he knew he was gonna kill Lanta anyway. And it was for that reason when he sent the missiles, he sent out 2 different sets. And with doing so, the first barrage was heading towards the AIM facility like he said he would. And when this happens, like MODOK, he sees them coming. And when all the AIM researchers are like, what do? MODOK is just like, we die. And I'm pretty sure that ain't what they wanted to hear. But even with saying this, MODOK tells them that they will be avenged. And with this happening, that is ironic that after all these years, they become the Avengers. But as for the second set of missiles which Ulysses had sent out, he had targeted them for his own location. And with doing this, it wasn't like an attempt for him to try to kill Maestro, because he had told Maestro where the second set was going, or coming in this case. But with him doing this, it was practically him and the Pantheon ending themselves because they had failed at their mission protecting the world. And with them having no solution to Maestro, they chose death rather than to serve under him. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below to where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.